Cutter was standing on the stage with the little doctor and the teacher from the green band class when they came in to get their food the next day. He was smiling and greeting them, and Dax raised a hand at him, which he returned. He turned back to see Masha scowling at him, but she wouldn't say why. "What do you reckon they're about?" Dunstan asked, as they sat down with their trays. "Nothing good," Gerald said, as he went on eating. "Probably just announcing midterms," Rebecca said, and when they all looked at her questioningly, she rolled her eyes. "It's not like it's a secret. Mrs. Lloyd has been talking about it for weeks now. We'll be taking our midterm soon, so they can tell us how we've improved." "Makes sense," Gerald said. "They need to test us, and the tests should reflect our aptitude. They'll probably have Dunstan identifying things, me following paths, Masha trying to break into people's minds, and Dex..." He stopped as if unsure what Dex and Ryan did, but the two of them shared a look. "Fighting," both of them said, before going back to their breakfast. "Really?" Rebecca said. "You think so?" Dex shrugged. "It makes sense. They haven't been teaching us all that fancy hand-to-hand and battle tactics with our powers, so we can run obstacle courses. Nah, it's gotta be pitched combat. That's the only thing that makes sense." The Red Bands had been hard at it for the last few weeks, and the development in the Red Band group was noticeable. Most of them had been bulky when they arrived, but all 5 of the Red Bands were covered in muscle now. They had all looked like football players, most of them, but now even Ryan, who had been the smallest, looked like a bodybuilder. They were on double portions, and their classes were always something that resembled gym, all day, every day. Ryan and Dex slept like the dead at night, and they woke up ravenous. "Good morning, students," Cutter said, and the general chatter quieted. "And welcome to the start of midterms." There were scattered applause, though most of them were probably too tired to realize what was being said. "This week, we will be assessing your skills and determining what you know and what you might still need to learn. If you are to be the best you can be for your country, then we need you in fighting form. So learn all you can and do your best to be your best." There were more applause, and as Cutter left the stage, Dex noticed Dunstan looking around expectantly. He'd been doing that for the last couple of days, like he was trying to find someone, and as he sat back and looked unappetizingly at his plate, he must have felt Dex looking at him. "What?" Dunstan said, putting a hand to his nose. "Do I have a booger?" "Nah, it's just, you seem like you're trying to find somebody, and you can't quite do it. I was just wondering if you'd found a girlfriend or something." Dunstan snorted. "Yeah, 'cause this place makes me feel real romantical. No, it's, He stopped, moving in close as Jenny, Masha, and Britt put their heads together and talked quietly. "I saw a lady here the other day that I didn't recognize." "Yeah," Dex said. "I noticed there was an uptick in staff lately. I guess it's because of midterms." "Right, but I feel like I know her somehow. I've never met her, but she's familiar." Dex raised an eyebrow. "I'm not sure I get it." Dunstan scrunched his face up, trying to find the words. It's like sometimes I know people without knowing them, you know? Like I see them and I touch stuff and I feel like I know them because the people who had the items know them, but I don't actually know them. I don't know. I'm not making a lot of sense." No, I get it," Dex said. "It's like you have someone else's memories, and they aren't yours, so they don't feel quite right. Like a shirt that's too big, or maybe too small." "Exactly," Dunstan said, snapping his fingers. "You get it." "You boys keeping secrets over there?" Rebecca said, Gerald smiling as he watched them in his quiet way. "No more than usual," Dunstan said, leaning in as he told her about the lady that he had seen. Rebecca listened, and Dex thought that she might have her own familiar face here. He had seen the way that she looked at the little doctor, who sometimes stumped around here. Rebecca was a nice person, but Dex would have been afraid for her to look at him like that. That was a strangling look, if ever there was one. The weird part is, Gerald said, slurping the last of his eggs up, I feel like she might be my mom or something. I feel kind of fuzzy when I think about her, like I did for the girl at the group home. She was kind of like Wendy in the Peter Pan books. 5 parts caretaker and 2 parts mother and 3 parts unobtainable love. We all had a crush on her, but we also feared her rages too. This is sort of like that, but not quite, I guess. I'm guessing that's not how you feel about that little doctor guy, though, Dex said, and Rebecca looked like she had swallowed a lemon. The bell rang, and they all got up as they went to dump their trays. Dex hung close, waiting for her answer, and Dunstan wasn't far behind him. His curiosity had been piqued as well, and she finally sighed as she saw they weren't going to leave it alone. No, not at all. In fact, the feeling I get is pretty unfuzzy. Dr. Hammershoal is the reason that I'm here in the first place. He tricked me into revealing my dreams, something I thought was just part of my anxiety, and this place picked up my trail because of it. I hate him, and I get the feeling that he knows that. Dex wasn't so sure about that, but he kept it to himself. He was pretty sure that most of them had been on the radar of this place since birth, if not before. This place looked like the kind of government facility that might have slipped something extra into your mother's vitamins at the OB/GYN so they could keep up with their little operation. This place had likely been operating since before the Cold War, maybe even since before Hitler started yelling about change in Germany, and they would be here long after the United States was dust. Government programs and cockroaches, those were the 2 things that survived the nukes. Not surprising, Dunstan said. He's always so polite when we have lessons together. I don't enjoy the things he makes me see, but he usually helps me forget them. Rebecca had been moving away, but she stopped and turned back. How does he make you forget? Dunstan scratched his head, a dreamy look coming over his face. I can't quite remember. It's some kind of rhyme or something. Once you reach 10, we may begin. Once you reach 9, you'll enter a relaxed state of mind, Rebecca said, shuddering a little despite her slack and easy posture. The 2 of them looked like they were out of it, and Dex shook them as their dreamy reactions took on a slow spiral. Both of them stuttered and looked around, not seeming sure where they were for a minute. Rebecca looked embarrassed. Dunstan just looked confused. And when she excused herself to go to class, Dex told Dunstan to keep an eye on her. She's likely to be in a bit of a state after that. Gotcha, Dunstan said, and after a fist bump, the 2 parted ways. Dex waved at Masha as she and her friends met Heather at the door to the Green Band Hall, and she waved back at him. She mouthed good luck at him as the 5 of them headed to class, and Dex looked around for Ryan as he went. The kid was usually close by, but when he saw him near the Red Band hallway, he let out a hiss of displeasure. He had clearly been waiting for Dex, and Dick and his little cadre had found him. As Dex approached, he heard the bigger boy giving him the business. Physical trials tomorrow, Runt. You think you're ready to take me on? Guess you'll just have to find out, won't you? Ryan said, bristling at the boy, who was about a head and a half taller than him. Dick laughed. As if I'd squash you like a bug. You aren't even in my weight class, squirt. I guess it'd be a mercy, though. Might as well get you out of the running before you bring shame on the whole... But he stopped talking when Dex put a hand on his shoulder. But I am in your weight class, Dick. So why don't you save the shit talk for the mat? Dick turned around, stepping out of Dex's grip before balling his fists up at his sides. "Why don't you let the runt fight his own battles, Dexter? If he deserves to be in the program, then he shouldn't have a problem towing it up with the big dogs." Dex rolled his eyes. "I'm tempted to let him do it, too, but I don't think Cutter would approve of finding you splattered all over the corridor." Dick sneered. "You think you're so funny, don't you, Dexter?" "Not especially," Dex said, "but I know if you keep pushing Ryan, he's going to show you that size ain't everything." Dick shook his head and stormed off, his posse following close behind him. Dexter wasn't sure how he would ever survive the dirty looks thrown his way by Dick's underlings, but he'd manage somehow. "You okay, Ryan?" he asked the younger boy. Ryan nodded. "Yeah. What took you so long?" "Got held up," Dex said. "You ready for midterms?" Ryan shrugged. "Can you be ready for midterms when you don't know what the class is?" Dex laughed. "True. I've never done school for very long, but I assume it's a little different from this." "Definitely," Ryan said as they walked into the gym. "Generally, the bullies who try to kill you in regular school don't have superpowers." They took their spots on the mat as Cutter walked in from the locker room in his usual PT gear. His warm smile was still in place. Dick was standing amidst his flunkies, grinning at the pair of them as they came over to join them. "All right, Red Bands," Cutter said as they huddled close. "I'm sure you're all terribly worried about midterms, but don't sweat it. It's going to be physical trials for the most part, capped off by one-on-one combat. This is not a pass-or-fail thing, so don't worry. We're testing how your powers have grown, nothing else. So don't be too nervous and just do your best. Now let's start with some calisthenics and move on to the obstacle course. Come on." "So," Miss Cashmere was saying, "for midterms, you will be working one-on-one with me. You will be given 3 prompts, and you will have to implant them in my mind. This will be timed, 10 minutes per person, but it will not be a pass or fail. We just want to see what you can do after some training. So let's pair off and work on image implanting for today. Daniel, you can work with me." Masha and Heather paired up, Jenny and Brittany already sitting next to each other, and took turns sending images to each other. This wasn't terribly hard, especially since no one had tried to infiltrate her mind during class since Chandra had her little accident. Masha had to be careful, though. She had given a few of the girls headaches when she had sent, and as she sent Heather a warm summer beach, she saw the girl shake her head and shiver a little. A trickle of blood slipped from her nose, and Masha realized that she had sent too much. "Easy, Masha," she said, wiping at her dribbling nose. "My brain will be coming out next." "Sorry," Masha said. "Sometimes I forget my own strength." Heather blew her nose and settled herself, and the two continued. "What happens when it does that?" Masha asked curiously. "What, when you send too much?" "Yeah," Masha said. She had never experienced it herself, but she was curious to know what it was like. So many of them sent like they were speaking through a string on a tin can, but Masha felt like she had a megaphone in her head most days. It's like when you wake up in the middle of the night and the signal on the TV has gone out, and all of a sudden you're just staring at all that static. You're half awake, so you don't know what's happening, but the static and the hissing noise just seem to envelop everything. It's like that, except in my head, I guess. Masha nodded, thinking about it as Heather pushed an image of a tranquil wood into her head. What she was describing was overload, Masha supposed, and it was like a blown circuit. Masha wondered if she could do more than just stun people like this, the way Dex did with his powers. Maybe, if she kept pushing that current, she could blow their circuits out, like she had done with Chandra. She hadn't really intended to do it, but she wasn't sorry that she had. Chandra had been trying to kill her after all, and it had been survival of the fittest. Masha hadn't wanted to die. "It's a tranquil forest," Masha said, and Heather nodded. "I'm not as good as you are, but I hope I'm getting better." Considering some of Heather's earlier images had looked like the graphics on her dad's N64, this one was outstanding. It was a little grainy, a little unreal, but it was fine. She had the general idea down, and that was what was important. At the end of the day, they just had to send, and then get better before the finals. Heather closed her eyes and started sending again. Masha picturing a scene from a western that her dad had liked. Masha got the image slowly. The mesas and gullies coming into view, then the sun and the clouds, and finally the scrub grass and the little trees. Masha could almost feel arid heat and sun beating down overhead, but it was all snatched away suddenly as someone fell off their chair. Masha opened her eyes and saw Brittany bending down to check on Jenny as she lay on the floor beside the table. She was thrashing a little, having a fit, as Masha's grandmother would have said, and as Brittany panicked, Mrs. Cashmere came over to help. "Nothing to worry about, children. As your powers become more powerful or your sending becomes more competent, this can happen. The brain is like a muscle. It must be worked out, or cramps and strains can occur." Mrs. Cashmere was holding her gently, stopping her from hurting herself, as Jenny thrashed slightly. After a few minutes, Jenny shook herself and sat up. She told Miss Cashmere that she had a whopper of a headache, and the teacher got her some aspirin and told Brittany to let Jenny send for a bit before trying to send back. The class fell back into its usual back and forth, and Masha went back to her exercises with Heather. They had to be ready for midterms, after all, and practice made perfect.
You're still here. Thanks for stopping by. Dr. Plague here. Always a pleasure to see all my new and old viewers coming by for another one of my spooky tales. If you'd like to support the show, you can always take part in one of our channel offers through Fume or Aura, or you can just click on another video when they come up. I'd really appreciate it. For our newer viewers, we also have lots of playlists and other things if you'd like to get caught up. I know some of my series have been going on for quite a while. If you'd like to get my latest book, there's a link down below that'll take you to my Amazon page. Towesey Homestead just came out, so if that's something you'd like to get your hands on, go ahead and have a look down there. If you'd like a signed copy, you can go ahead and email me from my email address on the site, and I'll get with you about shipping information and ship you a signed copy. If you'd like to support the channel in a more monetary fashion, we also have membership through YouTube, and we've got a Patreon that you can get the information for in the description. We have lots of tiers and everything to suit your needs. Patrons that support on the $10 tier, that's our Ghostly Reader tier, get a book anytime I write one, signed and on their doorstep. As you may have noticed, there's a list of patrons and members on the screen, and I'd like to personally thank every one of them for taking a hand in the future of this channel. Well, that's enough for tonight. Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.